act as if it... But that day, for some bizarre reason, it just no longer worked. And I lost it. I lost it. My body, the feeling was so violent that my body jerked, literally. And it's a miracle that I'm talking to you because my body jerked so much that with it, the steering wheel. And I was gonna end up down below in that ocean. But for some reason, it didn't. And as soon as I found a spot to stop, I stopped. And I got out of the car. Something major had happened. I still don't explain what it was. But at that time, Jordan, I surrendered. I surrendered. I said, God, from here on, I'm showing up. And I promise you, and I want you to help me make sure that every breath I take from here on is gonna go towards the bettering of my continent. Right? I just made that deal with God. I said, this is what I'm showing up for this. I present and I offer myself. This is
why did you think this was between you and God, so to speak?
Because it was so big. It was so big. And it was so big, and he's the only one that I trusted to help me with that. The only one. And most importantly, I had no idea what to do about it. But I knew that faith would be my best ally in this until I could figure it out.
Yeah, well, faith sometimes is the courage to do difficult things.
You know what? It's a very good way to look at it, and maybe that's what happened that day, because that day I was definitely not willing, or let I say, not capable at least of being a coward about it anymore. Because my whole life I was pretty cowardish about it, if you think about it.
Why cowardly? Why would you say that about yourself?
I don't know. It's just because the idea that in order to no longer feel the pain, I would have to push it under the rug. I don't find that very courageous. But I didn't know what else to do, because otherwise the pain was just going to drag me into places. But at least I had the sanity to know were not safe or healthy for me until I knew how to get into those dark spaces, right? Which, by the way, I learned afterwards, because afterwards I used knowledge to my rescue. The understanding really helped settle everything.
Yeah, well, it is a terrible thing. It is a terrible thing to look on the poverty and the corruption, let's say, of an entire continent and in some sense the entire world, and to contrast that with your own prosperity, and then to realize, at least in principle, that you have a moral duty to do something about it. That's no trivial undertaking.
That's exactly.
So, okay, so you're on the side of the road and you've pulled over and you've had this realization, so continue.
Yeah, so I pulled on the side of the road. I had this realization, and eventually I said, from here on, this is the path I'm taking, and I want you to help me. So show me the way. I will be a good disciple. And so, and things started to change. And it started to change with a few months later. My husband, who was French, and I talk about him in the past tense because poor soul, he passed away shortly after, after all of this. Like we had maybe a year together. I didn't know that then. But I took him home to Senegal to see the place I came from. And there he was asking me about this hibiscus beverage I've been telling him about forever. You know how it is when you're not from the same culture, that the first thing you teach one another is what you love about your respective cultures. And that's how a better culture is born out of that mixing. In any case, we're there and he's like, I want to try the hibiscus you're talking about. So, everywhere we go, at the restaurant or within my friend and family homes, you go there and they bring you to this plate. Coke, Fanta, Pepsi. I'm like, where is the hibiscus? Girl, where have you been? So basically what has happened, anybody who feels like is a somebody drinks the Western soda pop brands, the ones I just talked about. And the bottom of the pyramid, which is the bulk of the people, they drink knockout brands. Knockout brands. And in between, the traditional indigenous drink that we used to have is squeezed out. And with them, the livelihood of the women who are primarily the ones who used to grow the raw material, which is the hibiscus. So now these women are leaving the countryside, going and packing themselves in the cities, and they're, begging on streets, prostitution, maybe working in people's homes where they're being treated horribly. So anyway, this cycle of poverty is just keeping going. And there, I thought I was done with being depressed sometimes about the situation back home. I fell in a literal depression. For 3 days, my body was not willing to obey me anymore. It was just like, I'm done. I was so disappointed with the world because now here I am. Not only do I have my people now dying, but now I also have my culture dying. Because my hibiscus drink, which is called bisap it's the juice of teranga. Teranga means hospitality. That is what the people of Senegal are known for. So this is a part of our cultural identity, yet it is not on that plate that they brought me. So when I think of a plate, I think of a world stage. And when I think of the drinks on it, I think of the cultures of the world that matter so much that they're on that plate. Well, what am I seeing? I'm not there. And that's a big problem. Because if you're not there, it means your culture is disappearing. And if your culture disappears, the only time people might remember me in the future is going to be in museums.
Why do you use the metaphor of the table?
You know what? I never thought about it. I don't know. It's just something that came to my mind when I saw that. It was just like, I saw that plate, I saw the drinks on it, and it was just, our world was right there. The plate was
it's a divine symbol, right? That's an ancient divine symbol that in some sense, the collective table, the table of the gods. To have a seat at the table is to be part of the conversation and to be part of the elect in some real sense, to be welcomed in with hospitality and to share and to distribute and to mutually enjoy. That's a very, very old idea. So it's very striking to me that was the metaphor that sprung to mind, because we want everyone to come to the table, don't we? That's the plan.
We do, and that's the plan, absolutely. Yeah. That's a very good point. I never made the connection, but now that you're bringing it up, it does make perfect sense, actually. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure interesting. Well, you started that part of our conversation with a bit of an introduction to a religious experience that you had while you were driving, and the fact that table metaphor popped up there makes perfect sense from a symbolic perspective. You also want the table to be laden with the finest of produce, right? And you want it to be a place of plenty and generosity as well as hospitality and an invitation to everyone to enjoy. That's all part of life more abundant. And
that's right.
Bringing everyone to the economic table is a way of moving forward towards that goal,
that's right?
Okay, so the hibiscus drink, that really bothered you.
Yes, so I got ill. For 3 days, I was just shut down. I could not move anymore. I was pissed off. I was disappointed. I was sad. I was depressed. And my husband's like, my God, this anger of yours, it's energy, but it's negative energy. You've got to find a way to turn it around into positive.